Welcome to Rewatch and Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. And today's episode is Hercules, The Legendary Journeys, Season 2, Episode 4, Siege at Naxos. Episode in a nutshell is a brief reminder of what happened in the episode. So the episode begins with Hercules and Aeolus fishing at Naxos. At the same time, a group of barbarians led by Goth arrive at a small, middle of nowhere tavern and attack the patrons. And when the owner of the establishment tries to save one of his patrons, he is then killed by Goth. And it turns out that he is Aeolus's friend, so Hercules and Aeolus are bringing fish to this place, only to find that the owner, who is Aeolus's friend, has been killed. They fight off the barbarians, capture Goth, and decide to take him to Athens to face justice, as he's a wanted man there, and so he'll go there for trial. However, then his brother Bledar, alongside a bunch of other troops, come and basically are wanting to stop Hercules and Aeolus from taking Goth to face justice. So Hercules and Aeolus manage to make it to a fort while being hunted by these barbarians. And upon entering the fort, they come to find that it is basically deserted except for a father and daughter duel. And the only reason the father and daughter are there is that the father was a prisoner at the time the fort was abandoned due to an epidemic that had swept through. And it was obviously a very bad epidemic because a lot of the soldiers are still in the positions where they had been, so standing at the walls or in the dining room, etc. And the daughter is there because she's taking care of her father because she wasn't able to break the shackles that he was in as a prisoner, and so she's bathing him, feeding him, making sure he doesn't die, essentially. And they put Goth into one of the prison cells, and basically they're now stuck in this abandoned fort overnight while the barbarians surround them. And when the barbarians attack the first time, they manage to fake it till they make it by putting the soldiers up, making it look like the fort is manned. And they drive off the first wave of barbarian attack. However, then it does turn out that the barbarians have a catapult that they have named Titanus, and they have brought this catapult to attack them. They fire a warning shot, and Hercules finds out that Aeolus had gone and tried to scout out the barbarians and got captured, so they make a trade of hostages, Goth for Aeolus. However, then when Goth and Aeolus meet in the middle, they fight, Aeolus wins, Goth is recaptured, and then basically once again a fight has to happen, but the barbarians are waiting because they see all of these soldiers because Hercules bluffed that the soldiers were there and were using the skeletons to make it look like they were living people. Meanwhile, the father and daughter duo know of a tunnel that leads out of the fortress, so they leave the soldiers there to fool the barbarians while they go through this tunnel to the other side. And it is only in the morning as the lights come up that the barbarians realize that it was actually skeletons, not really disciplined soldiers who hadn't moved a single muscle all night, which is what Bledar says is, wow, those soldiers must be so disciplined. And then, of course, they get to the other side of the tunnel. They're right near another village. Hercules and Aeolus take their prisoner to go, and the father-daughter duo return to their farm, which is just a little bit in the other direction, and basically all's well that ends well. So now that we've been reminded about what happened in the episode, we'll now rank the episode. As always, we'll rank first on the mostly objective ranking, followed by the personal ranking. So to start off, we have our single episode supporting character introductions. We have Alora and Sheridan, who are the father-daughter duo. The father's a little bit um, senile, but that actually works in their favor because when the soldier when the skeletons come up, he thinks that's like his former soldier buddies, so his reaction is very realistic, which helps to fool the barbarians because he actually thinks his soldiers are there. But yeah, there's that duo. Then we have Bledar, who of course is Goth's brother, and then Goth, who killed Aeolus's friend and is the one that is being taken into Athens for justice. Then we also have the world building piece, which is the catapult, which I think this is the first time in the series that we've seen a catapult so far. So I gave 4 points for that, bringing us up to 8 points total. But there were some negatives. First, of course, negative messaging or behavior, the overall banditry, attacking the innocent, being a criminal. Um, the fact that Alora is revealed to have had a previous relationship with Goth and almost lets him escape, but ultimately decides she deserves better than him and doesn't. All of that's under the overall banditry section, and I took 2 points for that. And then I did feel like there was a weak subplot concept with Alora and Sheridan. Sheridan was a funny old man because he was senile. Um, but I did feel like they were kind of burden characters in a way because the whole reason that Hercules and Aeolus can't really escape was because they didn't want to leave behind a weak old man and his daughter. And so they kind of became a burden that made them stay and get sieged in at the Naxos fort, hence the title of the episode. And I also feel like it could have been a good episode even if they weren't necessarily there because while they did add some, like, while Sheridan had added a comedic relief element, most of like the fighting and the taking of the prisoner and the being trapped in the fort and playing the skeletons to show that they had people there and the fighting of the bandits and destruction of Titanus the catapult, etc., etc. All of that was Aeolus and Hercules. It was their cleverness and such. So really, other than somewhat being a burden and some comedic relief, the father-daughter duo I didn't feel like added much to the story. And of course, it's not really a romance because we just see that they had a previous relationship and she decided she deserved better than Goth. So again, that didn't even really play a big part in the episode, so I feel like it wouldn't have lost anything without it. So I just felt like that overall, that subplot for this episode was a little bit weak. Um, Therefore, I did take 2 points for it. But ultimately, that does leave us then with 4 points for this episode. And that brings our mostly objective ranking to in first, The King of Thieves, What's in a Name. This episode is third, Siege at Naxos, followed by All That Glitters. Personal ranking episode for this episode, yeah, I thought it was a 5 out of 10. I gave it an average episode. I felt like it was average. There were, of course, cleverness with using the skeletons to fool them into thinking that there were soldiers there. The fact that there was a catapult was pretty cool. And it is a unique concept in the fact that they were trapped in a singular location against a opponent with a lot more numbers, which usually in the past, if that had happened, Hercules had a side that he was on, so he did have some help. It wasn't just like him and Aeolus against an entire army of barbarians like it is this time. So I do feel that this was a bit of a unique concept, so I gave points for that. For the cleverness, um, the father character was, of course, funny, so that added some comedic aspect to it. There was also, of course, the barbarians being fooled into thinking that the soldiers were just really dedicated and disciplined because they hadn't moved a muscle, despite the fact they had no muscle. And even the fishing at the start, Aeolus was bragging about how he was a better fisherman, and Hercules says that it's not about quantity but quality. And Aeolus says it's about both before fishing up a log. And Hercules then is like, "You're right. I've never seen anyone fish up a log that big, or never seen anyone caught a log that big. Anyways, I thought that was funny too. So there were some amusing pieces. There was a lot of action with the fighting. I did think they did a good job at making Goth very dislikable. So there were positive points, but at the same time, I did feel like it was just a little bit lackluster, a little bit boring, and I did find that, again, that subplot was a little weak and a little bit of a burden. Um, yeah, I just thought it was average. It didn't excite me, but it didn't like disappoint me either. It just kind of ended up in the middle somewhere in the meh section. So 5 out of 10 I felt was fair, which brings the personal ranking to What's in a Name, The King of Thieves, Siege at Naxos, and then in fourth, All That Glitters. Bringing us now to our series ranking so far. On our mostly objective ranking side, we had season 1 ending with 71.54%, and season 2 has 25 points out of a possible 240. Personal ranking side, season 1 ended with 73.85%, and season 2 so far has a score of 26 out of a possible 240. But with that, we have now rewatched and ranked Hercules: The Legendary Journeys, Season 2, Episode 4, Siege at Naxos. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.